ESPN released its first batch of power rankings for the upcoming NBA season, and even though I had very, very disappointing thoughts about where the Raptors could end up, it was still even worse than I could have imagined. Let's break it down here. Obviously, every year I feel as though the Raptors are underrated. They're tipped as a team that's going to miss the playoffs, and they still make the playoffs. Well, last year, for the first time in a very long time, well, actually, other than the Tampa season, for the first time without an excuse in a very long time, the Raptors fell short of their expectations relative to the fan base. Maybe they met the expectations of the wide consensus opinion in North American media, because the Raptors finished with a 41-41 record, barely staving away from their second losing season in the last decade. Obviously, the losing season was in the Tampa season. But again, you had a bit of an excuse there. You played every single game away from home. You never had the comfortability of your home arena, and that makes a difference. And maybe the Raptors just had a rough season as well that coincided with it. All things together, all things formed together to make that disaster season. Well, last season, we were all considering it doom and gloom at 41-41, but we had much higher expectations for a team that won 48 games the year prior, won 2 playoff games the year prior, and did so with a young and ascending team. So we were surprised to see them fall to 41-41. And even though Fred VanVleet left in free agency, and we've added in some pieces, I think ultimately we underperformed so much last season that even without Fred VanVleet, who was a big part of the team, even without that level of talent, the team should probably feel like they can still win at least 41 games this season and get into the playoff picture. Without a 2024 first-round draft pick to think about, you may as well go out and win games. So even despite all this, I knew that as far as the power rankings went, I knew the Raptors would be quite low. I knew they'd be, on like the play-in tournament picture, or at least so I thought. But then I started scrolling. And the further and further I scrolled, I wondered where the Raptors were. See, about here, I got to 15. Once I got to 15, I was like, okay, any second now, we're going to see the Raptors. I kept going. I get to 19. I see the Utah Jazz. Pacers, okay. Then the Bulls, we're at 22. I still don't see Toronto. Orlando Magic ahead of the Raptors. Surely the next, but no! The Houston Rockets are next. Orlando coming off a 34-win season. Houston coming off of a 22-win season. And all the way down at 25. 25 out of 30 is the Toronto Raptors. Now, once again, I reiterate, I understand. I wasn't expecting the Raptors to be very high. And every year I see these power rankings go, oh, the Raptors are going to outperform these projections. The Raptors consistently outperform their wins projection, like sportsbook projections on their wins. I bet like the over on their win total every year. It's usually a money machine. Last year, it wasn't a money machine. It was 43.5, and they only won 41 games. So they got close in the end, but they still fell short of what I thought would have been well short of the games I expected them to win. But typically, I find it is a bit of a money machine betting their overs here. This, and we'll talk about it more, doesn't quite reflect their sportsbook status, and we'll discuss why that's different. But for these guys, Tim McMahon and Tim Bontemps, to put together this article and place them this low, like it truly is remarkable. Look at the company that they're in here. They're just ahead of the Spurs, the Hornets, the Blazers, the Wizards, and the Pistons. They're behind the Rockets, the Magic, and the Bulls. Like, surely they are not this bad. And what is interesting to see is, again, the 2024 title odds associated with it, because you see the Rockets at plus 35,000. So that's 350 to 1. The Magic at 300 to 1. But then the Raptors are at 80 to 1. And the Spurs are at 200 to 1 on the odds. So I decided to look at a popular sportsbook, FanDuel. Obviously, you can shop around and find the best price, but to look around at where the Raptors would be ranked-wise in terms of their odds to win a championship, because that's usually a gauge of where you would expect them to finish in the NBA season. And where they're ranked here, now, like, sportsbooks don't know everything, but they are pricing it to win money off of bettors. And they're pricing the Raptors here as the 20th best team in the NBA, ahead of the Bulls, Pacers, Blazers, Spurs. Well, the teams that were ahead of them in the list we just saw were the Magic, who are down here, the Rockets, who are down here, the Jazz, who are down here, the Pacers are down here, and the Bulls, who are just behind them here. But usually I would cite this as a little bit of, American bias, Canada hate, Raptors hate. But this is coming from, specifically with Tim Bontemps, ESPN's Eastern Conference coverage guy. Coming from a guy like Tim Bontemps down here, I expected better. This is a guy who typically, there are very few that I give this credit to, but very few people, but Tim Bontemps is one of them, who gives the Raptors at least a little bit of credit when the credit is due. But to see them this low, and the explanation here, they're just talking about Fred VanVleet leaving. So they're not addressing that the team underperformed last year relative to the talent level on the team. They're literally just, the explanation here is that one of one, Fred VanVleet leaves, Dennis Schroeder replaces him. That's not the same level of player, and you're going to be even more shooting. Well, you're true, you're going to be more shooting challenged. But the team underperformed relative to expectations last season. So I'm not expecting the Raptors to be, top 15 on this list. But certainly, this is a top 20 team in the NBA. I don't know why I get so flustered over things like this, but certainly this is a top 20 team in the NBA. Last season, it was a very, very talented and skilled starting five. It likely will continue to be a very skilled starting five. A little bit more of the depth has been figured out. I know I say that every summer and then I end up disappointed, but it seems like the depth has been figured out a little bit more than in recent seasons. So again, I'm not expecting 50 wins. Maybe I'm not expecting 45 wins, but to expect this team to plummet so hard that it is a bottom six team in the NBA, I just can't see that happening, coupled with the fact that we don't have our pick and there's no reason for the Raptors to take their foot off the gas at all this season. This is completely and utterly out of pocket for Tim Bontemps and Tim McMahon to come up with as far as the power rankings go. So I'm going to be interested to see more sites and their power rankings as we go through the season. I'm interested to see maybe other ESPN. Actually, it seems like my mistake. There's a lot of different authors who contributed to this article that went into this. It's not just, I only saw McMahon and Bontemps, but there's a lot of different ones who went through this. So the entire ESPN team working together has the Raptors this low, which means all of them together see the Raptors as this horrible team that's going to win like 34 games this season. If Siakam is here, Siakam is all NBA talent. OG is all defense talent. Scotty Barnes is a young ascending player that we hope takes a leap this season. New coach, Pirtle's a great player, a $20 million center, all of these things together. This is ludicrous for them to think this way. I don't know how you guys look. If Siakam's traded, then sure, this is like a 34-win team. But Pascal Siakam is still here, and there are talented players all around him. So I don't really see how you can expect this team to be that bad. I mean, what are you guys saying about the discussion? Dennis can't be considered a replacement. He's always going to be bench depth. Well, that remains to be seen on Dennis starting for sure. But using the explanation as, okay, Fred left a 41-win team, they replaced him with Dennis Schroeder. Bam, they get worse. It's not as simple as they're making it out to be over here. I admit that Jazz can surprise. I admit that the Pacers can surprise a little bit, but they are still a little bit too high on this list, as are the Magic, as are the Rockets, as are the Bulls aren't too high, but they definitely should not be higher than us, in my professional opinion. But hey, if we are this bad, you know what? Maybe we actually do have that 2024 first-round pick. I just don't think we're going to be anywhere near bad enough where that top 6 protected pick comes into play. I imagine that pick will convey this year. So let's see what we do. I think we're going to outperform this, but the win totals that are set for the team, I think, make a good degree of sense. Like I said, the win totals can usually reveal a little bit more than what these power rankings are, because again, these are companies that are trying to make money off of the people involved. So looking at it, I was looking at it on DraftKings. I'll pull that up here. Let's see where the Raptors are placed at. Oh, see, you know what? 36.5 is what I see them at. That's a little bit low even still. Like, this is the team that's going to be out there to win games. 36.5. We're the same as the Magic, just on the Bulls. I think that's a little bit low. So I actually do like this one. So, yeah, you heard it here. I'm vouching for this one. I'm probably going to play this number. 36.5 at plus 100. I like that. 37 wins. This team is more than good enough to go 37-45. Give me a break. This team is more than capable of going 37-45. I see us in like the 39-42 win band as well.